Zachary Wester, a former constable for Jackson County, was busted for using narcotics on innocent individuals back in 2018. Wester, an officer with the department since 2016, was accused of planting drugs in cars, which resulted in a number of unfounded accusations. He was suspended immediately, and 3 years later, his case went to trial. This is a case of an abuse of authority by a law enforcement official whose duty it was to serve the public. Wester's main victims were drivers. He would pull over passing motorists for random traffic checks. And as the unwary individuals exited their vehicles and began to walk away, he would dump drugs inside the car and use it as evidence to get them into custody. At least one of these purported checks was written in Stephen Van's favor. Van was a formerly convicted felon who had just recently gotten out of jail. When he was stopped by Western in his testimony, Van said that he allowed the officer to search his vehicle, claiming that he had nothing to hide. Western ended up finding methamphetamine in his car. Have you ever seen this before? No. What is that? However, as luck would have it, the sheriff deputy's own body cam would be enough evidence to do him in, especially in the case of Teresa Odom. Odom, who was confident that she had nothing to hide in her vehicle, complied with the officer's directions and stepped away from it while the constable prepared to search the area. At the same time that Wester was getting ready to put his gloves on, Odom's body cam spotted a little bag concealed in Wester's left hand. The prosecution is of the opinion that this is the same tiny bag that Wester asserts to have discovered in the vehicle next to a spoon. Even though Wester testified that the drugs were there, he adamantly denied having placed any illegal substances or drug paraphernalia in the vehicle. Wester testified that the narcotics were present. The jury deliberated for a total of 5 days and heard from a number of different witnesses before reaching a decision. Wester was found guilty of 19 of the 67 crimes, including the unlawful arrests of Stephen Van and Teresa Odom in July 2021. Among the other charges, Wester faced a maximum sentence of life in prison. Because of the dishonest officer's actions, the judge in M handed down a sentence of 12.5 years in state prison. Wester was accused of racketeering, creating false evidence, false detention, and possessing controlled narcotics. He was charged with 67 counts total. Since 2014, Bill Miller has served the state of Georgia in the capacity of a police officer. Back in April of 2018, he started working for the department as a sheriff's deputy. But in July of that same year, the incident that finally led to the demise of his entire career occurred. Ashley Roberts was taken into custody by Miller on charges of DUI and possession of meth. Miller sent Roberts a message asking her to meet him in the parking lot a few weeks after Roberts had been freed on bond. Roberts agreed to do so. According to Roberts, when she arrived, the officer urged her to go in his car and offered her some beer. He then brought her to the hospital, where she was eventually diagnosed with HIV. Miller assured Roberts that her DUI charges would be dropped if she agreed to do some sexual favors for him. On the voice recordings, the officer can be heard clearly suggesting that all he needs to do to waive charges is speak to the DA. Miller told Roberts that her DUI charges would be dropped if she agreed to perform some sexual favors for him. We are fortunate that Roberts had the sense to covertly activate the voice recorder on her mobile phone so that he would not discover it. As the conversation progressed, the atmosphere turned increasingly ominous. Miller constantly piled on Roberts with improper inquiries while seeming to be there to assist her. However, Roberts refused to budge and kept telling the officer, "Yeah, we got the recording. Would you like to hear the recording?"
You come over here. I ain't gonna jump on your ass, I promise you. I mean, I'm good. I'm all right.
On a lonely dirt road in Monroe County, an off-duty cop wants a woman he recently arrested to do him a favor. After this entire incident occurred, Roberts reported it to several news organizations. She gave them the recordings and later got the Monroe County investigators involved. According to Fox 5 Atlanta, Miller was arrested in August 2018 after telling him I'd go to prison if it meant having a sexual encounter with you. Miller was fired from his position with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department after the investigation was finished. The interim sheriff for the county at the time, Al Shackelford, told Fox 5 Atlanta that the department was shocked and disappointed by the situation and that law enforcement should be held to a higher standard. In his statement following Miller's arrest, he said that this was a slap to all law enforcement, including the men and women who work in this office. Although you probably would like it, the DA says that this manner of conviction would follow him for the rest of his life, and he will never be able to work as a law enforcement officer again. Following the trial, Miller was found guilty and convicted of felony bribery in violation of the oath of office, but despite these charges, He will not spend any time in jail. Instead, he will spend 8 years on probation and pay a $2,000 fine. He also won't be allowed to enter, travel through, or visit Monroe, Lamar, or Butts counties. This prohibition will last until Miller's probation is up. Officer Daniel Vickers and retired Detroit Police Lieutenant John F. Kennedy, two police officers from Detroit, linked up in 2017. They were involved in a bribery scandal involving a towing company. In November 2017, they engaged in a scheme with an unnamed towing contractor, offering him protection in exchange for cash and other valuables. Tower A, the official name in the indictment papers, promised that Vickers and Kennedy would be receiving free cars for doing this if I know I'm good. I'm going to queue them up, Tower A said to Vickers. I got 2 for Kennedy's kids and the one for you. He's got a Chrysler 200, the Fusion, and the Beamer, both of which are available for purchase. According to federal law enforcement officials, Kennedy, who oversaw the department's integrity unit, abused his position of authority to subvert these regulations and influence other officers. Vickers finally pleaded guilty to his role in the conspiracy to commit bribery in October. This former officer's actions are wholly unacceptable for anyone who has sworn to protect and serve. During the course of this entire deal, Vickers made $3,400 from the towing company while his partner Kennedy accepted $1,495 in cash for cars and repairs. A year after being taken into custody and accused of several counts of bribery and bribery conspiracy in a federal indictment, Vickers finally, any police officer who takes the route of corruption should be aware that we will not tolerate unethical behavior from our public officials at any level. According to Detroit Police Chief James White and U.S. Attorney Dawn Eisen in their respective statements. Vickers is currently serving a sentence of 27 months in federal prison, which is the longest and toughest term handed down to a person convicted in a public corruption case to date. Vickers' accomplice Kennedy, on the other hand, pleaded guilty to the allegations and will soon be sentenced. Kevin Rodriguez was a former police officer in the Raleigh Police Department. This corrupt officer got involved in a case of selling cocaine while on the job. Investigations into the officer's suspicious activities began in November 2021. Confidential sources tipped off the Raleigh Police Department and the DEA about Rodriguez. Then in January 2022, a whole operation was orchestrated where Rodriguez would meet up with a confidential informant while he was still on duty. 34-year-old officer sold the informant $2,600 worth of cocaine at an old abandoned car dealership. He was consequently arrested in February 2022 in a recent hearing in federal court. The former officer pled guilty to the charges against him. The charges included conspiracy to distribute and possess with intent to distribute 500 grams or more of cocaine, distribution of a quantity of cocaine, and use of a firearm, and furtherance of a drug trafficking offense. He was also found guilty of smoking paraphernalia while in his jail cell, leading to a possession of contraband charge against him as well. Mr. Rodriguez betrayed the public's trust with his acts. Dishonored. According to Raleigh Police Chief Estella Patterson, the oath he took to maintain and defend the Constitution tarnished his reputation. As punishment, the 34-year-old former officer will permanently renounce his law enforcement certification, and the Department of Justice has stated that he will be prohibited from obtaining any certification in North Carolina due to his concern regarding the case. I am happy to see that justice was served and properly administered in this case. According to U.S. Attorney Michael Easley, Kevin Rodriguez broke his promise to protect and serve and has vowed never to wear the badge or bring dishonor upon himself again. While many police play on their lives to serve the public, there are some of them who would use the authority of their position in their favor. Please let me know what you think of these corrupt police officers in the comments section below. Policing is an honorable profession to which countless brave men and women have dedicated their lives. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.